it's Liza Sivek. And before we begin, I want to remind you that show notes and links mentioned in this episode can be found in my Facebook and LinkedIn groups called Marketing Myths and Magic. Obviously, it's free to join, and group members get bonus freebies, live Q&As with special guests, events, and I'll be there to answer questions and chat with you. Head over to Facebook, LinkedIn, or there's a link at lizasivekmarketing.com and be a part of the conversation. Okay, let's jump in. Hey, magicians, Liza Sivek here with you again at Marketing Myths and Magic Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us again today. I have Jeremy Nicolaides. Oh my God, am I saying that right?
You did.
Okay.
You did, absolutely.
I read it more than said it. So Jeremy is here today. And I have one of those names. I can't be saying other people's names wrong, So he's back with us. You might have listened to the podcast from season 1 with him. You can see that on my website if you haven't, because it was a lot of fun. And I totally geeked out because of his background in 3D video effects for movies. And we'll get back into that later. But we are going to talk about marketing strategy and finding ways to start that if you don't have a lot of experience with doing that and you're trying to figure out what your marketing plan will be for your business. That's a big question people have when they come to myself or Jeremy is, where do I even start? It's overwhelming when you don't know the first steps. So that's what we're here to talk about today, is how to figure out how to get to those first steps. So Jeremy, welcome. Thank you for coming back.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me back. I'm happy to be here.
Look, I have my baby Yoda today.
I see that. I see that.
It's not directly a Star Wars movie, I know. So
it's a spinoff. It's all in the universe. We speak in universes now, right? You got the Marvel universe, the Star Wars universe.
Right, exactly. And by the way, I know that this is not Baby Yoda for the purists. I know that's not his name, but that's okay. That's we're gonna.
We all call him Baby Yoda.
Everybody calls him Baby Yoda. It actually really annoyed me at first, and then we found out his name, and I was like, I'm still calling him Baby Yoda, so I guess I can't be judgmental. Yeah. So besides my geekiness, what have you been up to? What's new with you? What are we talking about today? Like with strategy, like where are you at with your clients and what you're doing right now?
Yeah. So my whole big thing is, how do I take the things that have been proven in Hollywood to help businesses outside of Hollywood, right? And so I've got a fractional CMO service that I help, large businesses and big and small, but that's like big overarching strategies using Hollywood's predictable sales and growth strategies, right? But what I realized recently, this was actually in December, with this had this epiphany, and I realized that we can, outside of Hollywood, we can model movie marketing for our own businesses, right? And so that's what I've been working on. Came up with a masterclass that I've hosted and have been teaching to people. And we could dive into that if you want.
I would love to, because the whole movie marketing for a business, it's hard to wrap your head around if you're not in marketing, I think. But I really want people to understand how marketing in one industry can work in another industry as long as you personalize it. Yes. You can't just copy it, right?
Yeah.
So
keyword is model, right?
Right. That's exactly. It's modeled on. So you can bring your customers red carpet service, and I have so many puns that I promise I won't use. So many puns.
This is going to be a punny podcast.
That should be the name of this podcast. Let's just admit it. That and dogs. Okay. So what do you like? How do you start with them? I know you do some live training, and you don't just dump them into a workbook and a worksheet and say, here you go, that's it. You actually give them some do it with you kind of training, right?
Absolutely. My whole thing is we're tired of information only things, right? And products. And I like to make sure that people walk away with something that's executable, that they're actually doing. What's a quick win? Because it's all about momentum, right? You get excited about an idea, but if you don't succeed at it quick enough, then it fizzles away and dies, and some other shiny object pops up, and then you go chase that one, and that one fizzles and dies, and you chase another one, and then you end up nowhere. And in fact, I have one of my things is I do this I don't know what you would call it, but this in the training, at the end of things, I call it half-built bridges, right? And I talk about how we're all full of half-built bridges. And even though what I just taught you and showed you works, the most important thing, if I could get across to you, is complete your bridges. Stop chasing shiny objects. Stop stopping, right? But going back to your question is, first, I want them to understand how the concept of modeling it, right? And then it's important where you started this in the beginning of the show, talking about where do we start, right? So first, like the broad strokes of movie marketing, what I realize is that media has been decentralized, right? I'm on your podcast right now. You own a piece of media. You have your own media platform. And so, so many businesses, so many people have amazing podcasts out there. It's in fact, go back to my suffering story. And when I left Hollywood for a minute and bought a business, didn't know what I didn't know. And it was really painful. It was podcasts and learning from people and coaching and mastermind that got me out of it, right? So podcasts are very important. People have YouTube channels with lots of followers. You can go live on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. So they're platforms. So the media has been decentralized. And so when, like last year I worked on Dune and Godzilla vs. Kong and an animation called Rumble and a bunch of IMAX films. When these films come out, right, what do we see? We see trailers, right? First we see a teaser, we see a little clip of something, and then we see a longer clip, which is the trailer, the commercial. And then all of a sudden, like right before it comes out, we start seeing people on the morning shows and the late night shows and the daytime shows, and they're in magazines and newspapers and all over social media, right? Well, we could do the same thing, right? We can go and basically we are speaking to other people's audiences, right? In the beginning, especially when you're starting out, we're told, the values in our list, our customer list, we got to have followers. We got to get people to follow us on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and Facebook and Pinterest and all these things. And we have to have podcasts and we got to build our tribe and build our, which is great.
Community. Yeah. We've been hearing that for a long time, and it's true, but we've been hearing it for a long time, and it's more important than ever. Right.
Yeah. But now there are communities all over the place. And so now I can partner with you, right? I could say, hey, I've got some value I would love to share with your audience. And I can come on your show just as if I was going on Jimmy Fallon or something and talk about my stuff. And then hopefully some people that connect with me and resonate with me will go check me out too, right? And so it's that path and getting people to understand that you can go speak on other platforms in front of other people's audiences and it be okay. Right? Like you and I, we have a conversation. Yes. I won't get on somebody's show without talking to them first, right? Because I want to make sure that I'm delivering value and that it's right for both of us.
Right. Exactly. And we've done that, and we've talked before, and we've done another podcast before. Mm-hmm. But and thanks for comparing me to Jimmy Fallon. I'm funnier than him, but I'll take it. So, and I'll come back to the side tangent of Dune in a minute, but yes, exactly. I mean, you are so right. And first of all, half-built bridges just hit me right between the eyes, because it's so easy for entrepreneurs. And there's a lot of entrepreneurs who are, on the ADHD spectrum, if you can call that a spectrum. And there's a lot of people who just act that way because that's how they were trained in business, and they're all over the place. And, like you said, we've talked about it before, this shiny object syndrome. It's a real thing. It happens to everybody. And when you're an entrepreneur, you're always getting ideas. You're always thinking about what's the next thing, what's the other money I can bring in, what other monetized income stream, what other, idea. And boy, I had this great idea that I want to do. And now you've spread yourself too thin. It happens to the best of us, not all of us, but to the best of us. Yeah. And, there's a lot of potential for that half-built bridge. And you get this great idea, you get out there, you try to market it, and then you stop. And I think that thinking about being on people's media and collaborating is such a good point. I mean, you can keep talking about it with people that way. You don't have to constantly just put up pictures on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Live video is king now. It's on the rise. Content is on the rise to be, recorded or live video, action, not pictures, not words. So you make a really, really good point. Yeah. And by the way, talking about collaborating, keep listening, because we are going to talk about a webinar that Jeremy and I are collaborating on together, right to the point of what he's talking about. And he is going to be on my Marketing Myths and Magic Facebook and LinkedIn group via Zoom on, a week from this Friday, this is Monday, this is going up. So this Friday. So this is, what's that, the 8th? What is that? I don't know. So hold on, I'll look. I just told him I was going to get these dates and then I didn't. So anyway, we're going to tell you about it at the end and we'll tell you about the date. So now you got to listen so that I can go find it. So
the carrot has been dangled.
The carrot has been dangled because I am ADD. All right. So tell me, how do you avoid the half-built bridge? Where do you start and how do you get onto those media platforms? Like, how do you lead people there?
So I think, first we need to understand our market, right? The number one thing, what is the first thing we need to do is we need to understand before we do anything, who is our ideal customer, right? Like just step one. And even successful companies out there haven't really tuned in on this, right? It could just be kind of vague and they're leaving money on the table. So with that assumption that we understand our market and we understand who we're marketing to and who we're looking for, right? The first step is, what is your message before we even reach out to anybody? We understand our market, but what are we saying to the people, right? And I like to use, Hollywood structure. We have a Hollywood story structure. You wonder why some movies are so predictable and you're like, I know what's going to happen at the end, is because they weren't good at covering up the structure, because that structure is there. It's been around for decades. And if you follow it, you will succeed. But again, like, the key word is model, right? We use the structure and then we build on top of it. And so we go down that path, and a lot of people are like, I don't know what to say. And really your message, have you ever heard the term your mess is your message? Have you heard that one? Because it's not for me.
But it sounds like me not being able to find the date that I needed when I was on my podcast. What does that mean? I want to know what that means.
Yeah. So many people are only worried about looking perfect out in the world. Right. And we see, on social media, just highlight reels all over the place, right? Like it's everybody's highlight reel and it's not real. And so when we're trying to sell something, if we're going to provide a product or a service, we need to be real. We need to connect with people. Right. And so it's okay to share the struggle. When I first started going on podcasts, I was just talking about how, when I went out and bought this print and marketing business after stepping out of Hollywood for a second, and it was painful. I thought I knew it all. I had just, was part of a team that built a company from 50 people in LA to 3,500 people worldwide. And I was full of confidence. And I buy this company. And, a year later, I'm like, talking to my wife, do we file for bankruptcy? What do we do? Right. Because there's so many things I didn't know. Right. And so that became part of it, but it became of who I am. And now it's relatable. How is somebody going to believe you if you can't be relatable, right? And so like, let's talk about that message. And the second part of it is we need to create an offer, right? We need two offers in this case. We need an offer where we're going to talk to a show host and we need to offer them something, right? This is not just, hey, let me come on your show and this is all about me. None of it's about me. Right? None of it's actually about you either, right? It's about the people listening. If we are all in service of other people, and the sooner we know that and realize that, the better everything becomes, right? So what can that's why I said, I don't want to get on a podcast unless we have a conversation first, right? I want to make sure that I have value. So I have the baseline, like, hey, I'm doing this, model movie marketing, like, let's do this, but where does that really fit in, right? How can your audience really benefit from that? So that, because they're giving us time, right? They're giving us the most valuable thing they have, which is time. They can never get that back, right? If they paid us, $25 to listen to this show, they could go make another $25, but they're not going to get 25 minutes back, 45 minutes back. It's not coming back, right? And so that's step one. It's just really getting to know your message, putting an offer. Oh, I said two offers, one for the host and then one for the audience, right? Like you said, at the end of this, we're going to talk about something else, something for the audience, right? That next step, what's something they could do next? So once we have that, then it's time to reach out, right? Now it's, hey, let's reach out to these shows. And my favorite way to find shows and platforms to speak on is find groups of show hosts and